now, each one of these list items, an LI is basically a block level item. So what you want to do is have it go horizontal. And the way you do that is you change your block level items to inline. So I can say block level inline like this, and that will do it. What inline block does, though, is that it's kind of like a hybrid between block and inline. So inline block basically does the same thing, but at the same time, it's still treating these as block elements. So I can do other things with a block element, like I can add padding. You know, so the padding is going to spread things out a little bit. I can also change the width and the height, and you kind of got to guess. That spreads it out even more, and then I can give each one a background color as well. And here, once I got that background color, I can adjust that width a little bit. So I actually want to adjust the height.
Can you give a percentage for each one?
Yeah, you could give, you can make the width. If I have 4 items, I can instead say, you know, I'll say 24 because I'll take the, I'll even say less than that because I got to take the padding into consideration. So now it centers it a little bit more. So yeah, I can use percentages. But basically what I did here is I took my vertical list and I made it horizontal. And then the last thing you want to do is change the, get rid of that underline underneath, because that's not necessary for this. So your nav bars usually don't have the links as underlines. They're basically just presenting those links as buttons that you can press. So final step is to use what's a property called text decoration. So now we're going to affect the A tag itself, because the A tag is what gives the link the underline. So the A tag is a child of the list, which is a child of UL, which is the child of nav. And then I can say text decoration none. And now that got rid of text align center. I think I have to add that actually to the list though. So I can align my text to be in the center of each one of those boxes. I'll fix the height a little bit.
Could you go back over how you got rid of the underline because it froze when you were doing it?
Oh, okay. So I'll comment it out here. So underline, it's basically using text decoration set to none. So if I go into that list, the property is text decoration.
Okay.
And we set it to none. So text decoration none it's getting rid of the underline. Other values for that are through. So let's say you want to add a line through something, you can add a line through. It can also add a line over, which can be kind of interesting. So that line adds a line on top. So you have these different options for text decoration. But most of the time it's set to none in a nav bar. You don't want to see that from a user interface standpoint. It's not necessary to see. And you know, you can play with the text here too. So maybe font family is sans serif. You know, you play with the font size. But that's the basic idea, to create a nav bar, and it begins with the list that you create. Now you can actually and again, you can actually create one line of code that gives you all of that. So you can create all of this really quickly. So basically, I want you to use this. I want you to use a nav bar for your next assignment. But there's one more thing we want to do. When I hover over these, I want there to be a change. So what you can use is something called pseudo code. So here we can use what's a couple of different of these pseudo codes. And what pseudo codes are, the pseudo class, is basically a means to actually use a style to change an action, to actually change what's happening in the actual HTML. So for example, if I hover over one of those pink boxes, maybe I want those pink boxes to change color, or maybe I want the text itself to change color. You know, it just depends on what you want to do. So if I want to have the actual box change color, I can say nav UL for the child of the nav is the UL, LI, and then you do a colon. You hit colon, type hover, and then you pick your color. And let's say I want to say like yellow. And I think actually you might okay. Let me see here. So here I'm causing the hover to change the text itself. If I want to change the actual box, let's see if I can. Oh, so let's say I want to change the actual box. Instead of using color, I can use background color. And I have to apply it, though, to the list. So now when I hover over this, it changes my background color. And I lost my height. There. Don't need it that high. So hover is basically letting me change something when I hover over it. So the other, there's basically 3 other pseudocodes to play with, and you always have to use that colon first to designate what tag is being affected by the pseudocode, the hover, and then in the curly braces is the change that happens when you utilize that. So we can also use there's a couple other ones here. There's active. There is visited. And there is link. So each one of these does something different. Active is basically the page that you're on. So if you go to a page and you use active, that's the page that you're on. You probably have a separate class for that to represent that. So if I have a class down here called current, and I changed this li to have the class for the style sheet, and I'll make it green. So that kind of represents, if I click, it's showing me the active page that I would actually go to. So hover is hovering over something, active is clicking on something. Visited is when you go to the link and then you go back, then that page should change. So visited, if I go to page 3 and then I go back to page 1, page 3 would be the color that I would designate for visited. Here you're not going to see it because I don't have a page 3 to go to. I go to page 3 and then go back, you're really not going to see the difference. And then we have link. And link is basically what link does, it basically should show you the current page in that color. It's not doing it like I want it to. But typically you would use hover, active, and visited. There's an acronym for this. They say love hate, so it's LVHA, to remember these CEDO classes. So this is like the basic way to create a nav bar going across. I have an example that goes a little bit deeper. So this example here is kind of doing the same thing, but it's adding a drop-down menu. And that drop-down menu is actually being controlled with JavaScript. So I have a bit of JavaScript here. You don't need to learn all of this, but I can give you the example if you want to copy it and use it for your project. So the JavaScript is right here. So the JavaScript is the code that is basically telling the button to have additional information appear. So if I click on 2, then it drops down and I have 3 more links. It's only for the page 2 right now, but that's another way to add to your nav bar, is using JavaScript. When you click, it opens up and you see that additional list of items. Now the nav bar is something that I'm having you guys create for the next assignment, but you can, once we get into Bootstrap, you can create nav bars by using Bootstrap to just designate what you want your nav bar to be. So there's a bunch of code that makes it super easy, and you don't have to go through this whole process. There's a class that's already set up for your nav bars that makes it really efficient with Bootstrap. Is there any questions about this? So that's creating a nav bar by really using a combination of list style, display, set to inline block, and text decoration set to none. And this is the code. It's all in this presentation here, though, which I'll provide. This goes through it step by step. So if you had any trouble following, you can go through it step by step with this presentation. So any questions about any of this? Do you guys want to take a quick 10-minute break? And then when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about the assignment and what you're going to do next. Before we go, did everybody finish the tabloid assignment? Are you guys done with that?
I'm like 95% done.
Okay.
I didn't like. I was having issues with like the paragraph placement based on like the example you showed me. I got the images where I wanted to be, but there were some limitations towards that in regards to like the placement of paragraphs and links and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was frustrating.
What we can do is we can go through what you guys have done. I'm going to talk about Flexbox a little bit after we come back. I want to talk about Flexbox, and then I want to talk about this website called Placeholder.com, which I kind of used in one of the examples. I think I used something called Place.it, but this is something similar, Placeholder.com, which is kind of nice because it lets you create placeholders for images. It lets you design the site without knowing what the images are yet. I'll tell you how this works when we get back from break. So why don't we take a 10-minute break and then come back? Sound good? And okay. So, all right, cool. Let's do that. Then I'll be right back. Let me see. I'm gonna pause the recording. So, assignment. I think it's assignment 4. I think the tabloid was assignment 3. So I want you to create a designer artist gallery, 4-page website. I want you to pick a famous artist or designer. And this is going to be a biographical style site. So the first page of the site is going to be basically about that artist / designer that you pick. So a little history of the person, maybe their portrait, maybe a couple other images as well. And then 3 additional pages are going to be galleries. And each page is going to represent a period in that artist's life. So you can start with in their early days as an artist, then go into the prime of their career, the part of their career where they were most celebrated. And then you go into the later period of their life as they were entering their final stage as an artist. So break up the gallery into those 3 pages, and each page is a different period. You can even pick an artist that had distinct periods, like Picasso had his Cubist, his blue period, something like that. Or it can be like a designer. So you can pick, it doesn't have to necessarily be a fine artist. It can be a designer like Paul Rand. It can be maybe a fashion designer. It has to be a visual person, though, so that we can have gallery images represent the work. So each page should be a gallery with 4 to 10 images and should focus on the time period. The first page, like I said, will be a biographical summary of that artist designer, and the additional pages will represent the work throughout that artist's life, with the beginning, middle period of their life, and towards the end of their life as the 3 pages. So do a wireframe first. That's the what I want to see next week. So create your wireframe, pick your artist too for next week. Now the process with this is you're going to have to think about the hierarchy of the site itself. So this is important as we start designing multi-page sites. So I'm just going to I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to create a new folder. Let's see where that folder went. and I'll give the name, you know, assignment 4. So the structure of the site this is inside the folder, is going to have that initial index.html. So I'm just going to right click and I'm going to say new text document. But I'm going to call this index.html. And then in the same folder, you're going to have another folder, and this will be for the pages. And in that folder will be your pages for the site. So you have your initial index.html, and then here, now you can call these pages whatever you want, as long as you don't use a space. Use an underscore if you need to use a space. So I have page 1. It can be whatever. It can be gallery 1, gallery 2. I'm just gonna copy that page 1, and then I'm gonna rename these page 1, page 2. Oops, I did it a little bit too many times. So I have a page 2. I have page 3, and we just need 4 pages. So I'm going to delete that last one. I'm just going to get rid of it. So I have my 4 pages. The folder that those 4 pages are in, we can call that pages. Now you'll need, in addition to this pages folder, you're going to need a folder for your images. So I'm going to create another folder and call that images. So all my gallery images go in here. And then you might want to have an external style sheet, because now that you're creating a site with multiple pages, it's easier to have one style sheet to control the whole site. So I'm going to create one more page, and I'm going to call this one styles. So that's the structure that you want to create. Create your folder for everything for the whole site, and then inside the folder you create an index.html, and then alongside the index.html is a pages folder, an images folder, a styles folder, and then all of your other HTML pages go inside the pages folder. So I'm going to open up this index.html in brackets. And then I'm going to create the HTML just for the menu. So this is our gallery menu. And I'll start off again using Emmet just to make it fast. So I'll say nav greater than UL greater than LI, and then I'm going to multiply that LI 4 times, and then in each of those list items, that LI tag, I'm going to have a link, and then the link is going to have an href. Now for now, I can have that equal to pound, but as I want to create navigation, that link is going to go to another page in the site. So it's actually going to go to pages/page 1, pages/page 2, depending on where you're at in the site. And then here I can say, I'm calling them pages in the folder structure, but let's actually call them galleries. So I'll say gallery, and then I'll add that $sign. So I'm going to have a gallery 1, a gallery 2, and a gallery 3. So hit tab. And so, oh, I only want, that's fine. Actually, what I'm going to do is say gallery. Yeah, that's fine. I'll do it. I'll have to change this. So I have gallery 1, gallery 2, gallery 3. I'm going to take this gallery 4. I'm going to cut and paste it, bring it to the top. So it's the first gallery item. And let's call this one artist biography. So these 4 links are going to be going to my, these 3 pages are going to be going to my other links. So what I'll do here, instead of going to number sign, I'm going to dig down the pages and then go into page 1. And the same way with these other 2. So gallery 1 is going to go to page 1. Gallery 2 is going to go to page 2. And gallery 3 is going to go into page 3. So that's the folder structure. So when you hit save and click on this, that is going to go into page 1. There's nothing there, so nothing's going to happen yet. Gallery 2 is going into page 2. Gallery 3 is going into page 3. What you could do now is you can open up these other pages and copy this as well. But the only difference in the other pages is that the biography page has to go back to index. So you have to actually go out of the folder and go up a level. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go and open up in this assignment 4 folder. Is that correct? Oh, it's onto my desktop. Assignment 4, go to pages. I'll open up page 1. I'm going to paste my code. Now, this reference here is actually going to go into, it's going to go up a level. So to go up a level, it's 2 dots, / and then you find that index.html. And the other thing I'll do here is I'll just add a tag here, an h1 tag that says page 1. And then I'm going to cut and paste this. And I'll do the same thing for page 2 and 3. Now, the one thing we have to change, though, is this is page 2, and page 2 is now on the same level as page 2 and 3. Since you're already on page 1, it doesn't need to go anywhere. You want to stay where you're at. But page 2 is going to go straight into page 2, and the same way with page 3. Because you're already at the same level with page 2 and 3. Do you guys understand that? So I can take this now, copy it, I'll open up page 2, paste it, call it page 2, change this to page 1. Change this to just the number sign because you're on the same page. And then you can keep page 3. And then I'll open up page 3 and cut and paste. And number sign belongs on page 3. And then for this page 3, you can go into page 1. So now when I hit save and I go into my main bit of code, let's say I hit on the lightning bolt. So gallery goes to page 1, hit artist biography, it goes back up. Gallery 2 goes to page 2, and then I can also go into page 1, or I can go into page 3, which I messed something up on page 3. So I'm going to go and fix it. I forgot to put, oh, I have an extra quote there. Yeah.
You're missing a quote.
Um,
Line 14.
I'm missing a quote, and then I pasted twice, I think. Yeah, so that should go there. And then gallery, I pasted incorrectly. So actually, yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just missing a quote. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, but do you guys see the structure then of the 4-page website? So you just got to pay attention to your gallery, your links. When you're on the home page, you go down, but when you're in the pages themselves, to go back to the home page, you have to have 2 dots and a / to go back up. So that's important to know the structure, of how you navigate. And then if you use a number sign, that means you just stay where you're at. So this is the structure. And then you can go and create your style sheet that will take this and turn it into a horizontal bar on top. So I'll leave that up to you guys to do for this assignment. But when you get into the actual pages, there's going to be a gallery on these pages set up. And I mentioned I wanted to use Place It or this other, you can use something called Place It. So I'll show you how Place It works. So I have it set up here already. Let's see. I'm going to use this other site here. Let me find it. Called Placeholder.com. So the way this works is I can designate sections of the site by just pointing to this placeholder link. And the size here is the size of that link is so if I see, so what you do is you basically just reference the image via this link. So I can go back to my code and on my gallery, let's say, as a placeholder, because maybe I don't know where those images go yet. So I'm just going to type out image source, and then it's going to actually point to the actual website for placeholder.com. and you say via placeholder.com. And then after the slash, you can designate a size. So if I say 200 by 200, it's going to create that number of that number for the dimensions. So what you get is a box with an X through it. Well, I guess it doesn't do the X, but here it shows you the size. So then what I can do is I can actually type out something like this. Using Emmet. So I can say image, and then in square brackets, add that bit of code, and then multiply it by the number of images. So let's say I have 10. So now I have 10 boxes here, and then when I go back in here, that's my gallery. So I have a gallery of 10 boxes, and then you can go and add the images afterwards. And then I have my nav bar here on top, and then I can use the code that I showed you. You use the code that I showed you earlier today to create that horizontal nav bar. So this is gonna be the basic structure of the assignment, but I want you pick an artist. You choose the artist that you want to feature, and then have each gallery kind of focus on a different phase of that artist's career. So everybody understand?
Does the artist have to be dead? Or like, what if they're still like working as an artist and they're not at they peak, but they're not like in their later stages of their career?
Yeah, that's gonna be yeah. So I mean that also applies to too if an artist died when they're really young, right? So kind of try to break it down into 3 stages, even if they are relatively young. So I mean, who were you thinking about?
I have some in mind. One of them is like a printmaker. I'm not sure how I'm not sure how famous he is, but I do like his work. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's much about him either.
Yeah, I mean, if you do the research, you can probably find 3 stages. So kind of look at the research and just figure out, maybe, it's like early prints, or maybe too, it could be based on the number of shows. Like a lot of artists have gallery shows. So maybe each each gallery is a different show. So it doesn't have to necessarily be, right before the artist died, let's say.
Okay.
So yeah, you could probably figure out 3 stages though. But yeah, this is the basic layout of what I want you to do. So any other questions about this? So check out, I'll give you the link for this site here, which is a really cool site, placeholder.com. I'm going to throw this into the chat. There's a lot of sites like this, actually. What's cool about this one is that you can do all sorts of things with layouts. You can specify all these different types of sizes. You can actually say what type of image goes in there. You can add custom text, and then you can change the background colors of the boxes as well, which is kind of nice. And I think you can, I've seen some of them where you put images into the boxes as well. And I do have, this link. So placeholder.com is just one of many of these sites. And these are basically great UI type tools that help you in your design process, especially if you work with a client and you don't know what the final site's going to be. So Placeholder is what I just showed you, but there's some funny ones as well. This one is called Phil Murray, to create a website to fill it with Phil Murray images. This is another one that has a lot of options. So you got to kind of go through them all. Some will generate generic text and generic colors and do a lot of the work there for you. But overall, they're going to help you finalize the design faster. Placeit is just a place for templates and creating different templates, having preset designs and mockups. This one's called Place Kitten. So what you do is something like this. So this is how something like this works. So it's kind of fun. So instead of using placeholder, you say place kitten. And then in your code, place kitten, do the size, hit tab, save, and then I'll give you kittens as your placeholder image. And I think if you change the size, let's say I make this one 400, maybe this one 100 by 400, make this one 600 by if you change the size, it should change the the kittens that go inside that. So here, I'll give you this link too. It's just a fun way to develop your site. I kind of want to get some. Oh, the proper way to do this actually is to have a slash. So this should give me more variety. Yeah, a little bit more variety. A little kitten peeking out there. So it's kind of interesting. There's a whole bunch of these though. They're all, some are kind of goofy. Some have good features actually. So check them out. I have the site here, and I'll throw this link. There's one that does bacon, bearded people, but some of them actually are more serious than others. You know, so you just got to kind of go through them all. Steven Seagal, different ones here. So I'm gonna. These are placeholder image generators. So didn't paste it. There you go. Oh, somebody's having trouble finding Discord. Go to discord.gg.
What's your screen name in Discord?
Mine is Cogspa. So this is me right here, Cogspa. So yeah, that's me. Let's see here. And I will throw that link in the Discord as well. So these are, I mean, this is helpful. So you don't have to wait to find your images to finish your design. Do your wireframe, and then you can use Placeholder or any any one of these other ones to designate the sizes, set up the layout, and then keep on moving forward with the website. So those should be helpful for you. Let's see. So any other questions about anything?
Yeah, I was going to try and do either Mark Bradford or Robert Rauschenberg.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert Rauschenberg would be a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, those are great choices. Pick an artist or designer. So, designers too have these different phases they go through. With designers, you can even do a gallery, maybe that's focusing on different projects, like Paul Rand and the IBM logo. You can have a whole gallery just focused on the development that he went through for the IBM logo. And it can be like, maybe it's a fashion designer, maybe it's an architect. But I want to see the first page, bio, and 3 pages giving you some history on those 3 pages.
Okay.
Any other questions? So does anybody need like help one-on-one, like critiquing type help?
I do with the assignment I turned in yesterday.
I'd be fine with mine. I've been critiqued.
Oh, okay. So let's okay. So let's go through these some of the assignments for assignment 3. And if you're still working on them, I would say try to get them to me. You can have till Sunday. Try to get them to me like this week. Like just finish assignment 3 to the best you can, and then if you need more help, let's do the one-on-one session. If you feel like you're stuck, let's do a one-on-one session. So let me